Hey there, this is Steve with Upstart Epoxy, and today we're going to show you how we created this stunning small-scaled coffee table with both the deep pour and the tabletop from Upstart Epoxy. Stay tuned. So always choose a wood that you feel comfortable with. One of my favorites is olive wood. That's what we're going to use in this program today. Olive wood just has the most richest colors. It's got so much character and detail, and it really just complements any epoxy project. We're going to start mixing here. We chose copper and we chose turquoise for this video. These two colors just blend so well together and they just really complement each other every step of the way. When mixing the deep pour epoxy, I like to go at least 2 to 3 minutes just to make sure everything has been thoroughly mixed. You can never mix too much in my opinion, but it's always better to be safe than sorry. You don't want to be mixing all day, but you want to make sure that both components, part A and part B, mix up well, blend well, so that you have a perfect product once you're done. And some people prefer to mix by hand. Hey, nothing wrong with that at all. If you want to mix by hand, I would recommend that you mix at least 10 minutes just to make sure everything is thoroughly mixed up. It's a little bit longer of a process, but it is less bubble output. And if you're doing like a clear coat or something that you're going to be able to see through, you're going to want to mix it up really good if you're going to do it by hand. But for this one, we're using color, so using the mixer is perfectly acceptable. We just received our order of Upstart Epoxy mica pigments. Look at the gorgeous colors this is showing. So can't wait to use these. I hate bubbles, and when you mix, you're going to get bubbles. So I like to use the heat gun to clear off any surface bubbles before I'm going to pour, because it just makes the pour look a lot richer and more beautiful. Was I lying? Look at this. Look how cool these colors go together. Look how clean that pour looks without bubbles. And you have an example here of just epoxy pouring perfection. Look at how much the wood, the turquoise, the copper, everything just pops together. It's really a thing of beauty. And once you're done, it's always okay to look everything over, see if there's anything you missed. But most importantly, you want to be satisfied with what you're doing and what you've created. A quick pop out of the HDPE mold, which we'll cover how to make in another video. We take it outside and we cut off the edges to expose the wood and get off any excess epoxy. I like to always clean it up to make sure that our product that we're working with is always clean and crisp and ready to go. I like to sand off the high points with a belt sander. That way when we're getting it prepared for the planer, it makes it a lot easier, and sometimes the epoxy makes it slide in there, so it's always good to scuff up the underside as well. Run it through the planer, get it to the thickness desired, and make sure it's nice and flat. You always want to work with flat projects. Then a quick sand just to get it ready for our flood coat. I like to do a router edge as well. I'll use a chamfer bit to bevel the edges to make sure it looks clean and sophisticated. And now it's time for the flood coat. This is always a really fun part, because what it'll do is it'll reveal the hard work that you've put into this. I've sanded this piece up to 500 grit just because I want to make sure that it really looks clean, and when I do this flood coat, I want to see any little flaws, if there are even any, and I want to make sure that this piece is truly gonna pop. And let's go. It's at this point that we see the wood grain revealed, we see the beauty in the epoxy revealed, and we see just how awesome it is to see wood and resin come together as one and really make something that's super special and super gorgeous. Remember, you're going to be able to do this. You always also want to make sure that you encompass every area of the board, the sides, the beveled edge, and just really make sure that the whole board is encompassed and full with epoxy. So for this video, we allowed drips. You can allow drips and then sand them off after. You can run a card or a paint mixer underneath it while it's curing. You can tape the underside. There's a few different methods you can do to get rid of the drips. We went ahead and left it this time. I like to use 40 grit sandpaper to get the dried drips off the next day. It's a lot more rigid and rougher, so it takes them off really simple. Then what I'll do is I'll sand the bottom all the way to 500 grit again. So when we're ready to polish, it's super smooth. clear any debris, any dust, wipe it off. We went with Odie's oil on this case for the underside of the small table. It's really an awesome product for polishing and preserving the wood underneath. And it's super easy to use. Just get you some gloves, put a little dab on your hand or on the surface, and polish away like we're doing right here. And now it's time for the legs. We just basically screwed these legs on the underside of the table, tapping into as much wood as we could as opposed to epoxy. Epoxy is kind of fickle sometimes unless you have a pilot hole. And once that's done, you've completed the mission. Sit back and enjoy the fruits of your hard work. This is something that you can do. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments section. If you like this video, make sure and hit that like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure and subscribe to Upstart Epoxy's channel and hit that notification bell so that you are informed every time we drop a new video. Well, what did you think? Drop a comment down below and let us know. And we'll see you next time.